To kick off the new year, I've decided to go over my Game of the Year for every year since 2000. Yeah, there's 2000 to 2025, I'm going to tell you what my personal Game of the Year for each of those years was, because it seems fun. Anyway, let's get started with the year 2000 and my Game of the Year, Final Fantasy IX. Final Fantasy IX is basically my favourite game of all time. And honestly, this is the reason I'm making this video, just so I can be like, hey, I love Final Fantasy IX, it's great, remaster it or something, Square Enix, cowards. This is just a brilliant JRPG. It's sort of turn-based, but they added in the active time battle system, which means that while turn-based, time still does continue, so you have to be kind of quick with it, or go into the settings and use wait mode, because it's a nice little accessibility feature there. But yeah, this game is brilliant. It has an amazing cast of characters. It is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous for a PlayStation 1 game. Like, it's going to be many, many years of these entries until we get to a game which is better looking than it. It had a pretty solid combat system, it had quite an interesting and fun plot, and it was a real love letter to the whole Final Fantasy series. It is my favourite Final Fantasy game, and it is just brilliant. It's also the game that I basically structured my life around, my morals around, really. There are these 8 quotes, each attributed to one of the 8 different characters, and I try to live by those quotes as much as I can. They very much defined who I was as a person. I'll have them up on screen now. This game shaped me more than any other game, which is wild to think of, but I would not be the person I am today without Final Fantasy IX, and that's why it's my Game of the Year for 2000. On to 2001, where my Game of the Year this time is something very different: Halo Combat Evolved. So honestly, I'm not the biggest Halo fan. I do enjoy the franchise, but I didn't get into it as intensely as many others do, or have done in the past. But this is just a really solid FPS game. It's a narrative FPS as well. The single player is where I focused my time. I'm sure I played a little bit of the multiplayer, but for me it was a single player campaign, fighting back the Flood, doing this old battle, all these cool little missions, which often were kind of shaped around specific weapons or vehicles, which I found really, really cool just growing up, having this first-person shooter where you were kind of encouraged but not forced to use special loadouts and stuff, just because on the mission where you'd find a sniper rifle, you'd have so many opportunities to use it, and I think it still holds up as a great game to show gameplay-focused design thrown into the narrative of it all. It's just a really solid first-person shooter, and it's nice to have a Halo game on here. I will also quickly say that my honourable mention for 2001 would be Final Fantasy X, which I don't like as much as 9, as you can probably imagine, but it's my favourite in terms of combat. Like, the actual gameplay for 10, just the battles, are pretty much my favourite from the entire series. However, I never really clicked with any of the characters. The plot is even more confusing and somewhat meandering than many Final Fantasy games, and it's the most depressing Final Fantasy, which is saying something. On to 2002, where my Game of the Year is MechWarrior 4 Mercenaries. The MechWarrior franchise was so good, and it's a real shame it kind of just fizzled out, but this for me is the quintessential MechWarrior game. We do now have MechWarrior... Is it just called MechWarrior Mercenaries? I'm gonna have to check that now. Okay, I've just checked and it's wild, because MechWarrior 4 Mercenaries exists, but there's also MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries. But for me, MechWarrior 4 with Vengeance, Black Knight and Mercenaries was kind of the trilogy, even though they're all MechWarrior 4. Games were weird back in the past, but these are just, you're this big, scary guy in a giant mech suit that you run around. I used to play this on like a proper joystick as well on the computer, which felt really cool, being able to turn that and blast enemies. And it's just a real fun thing to do, just going around as a mech. I love a mercenary playstyle. If you've seen my character builds, you'll know that I often gravitate towards being a mercenary. I think it's a lot of fun. It's just a great game. Who doesn't like being in a big robot and smashing stuff and crushing things and blowing them up? It's brilliant. I love the MechWarrior franchise. Easy pick for me. For 2003, my Game of the Year is Tony Hawk's Underground. I'm sure many people will have played and loved this game, and I understand the Skate series or Pro Skater and stuff like that seem to get more of a love even, but Tony Hawk's Underground was my skating game. It's got an amazing story and plot and full ridiculousness while doing great skateboarding tricks just all the time, just grinding across cities, and Eric Sparrow is a brilliant villain for a skateboarding game. Like, he's just a jerk, and it's great seeing him just kind of become more of a jerk, and then at the end of the game being able to crush him and be like, screw you, dude. It's brilliant. It's really, really good, just a lot of fun, with most skateboarding games as well. Great soundtrack. Weirdly, my honourable mention is going to be another Underground game, Need for Speed Underground, which is the only racing game I think I have on this, so I feel like I should mention it's my honourable mention. Because yeah, that was also great for a lot of the same reasons. Didn't have an amazing villain or anything, but was just fun getting to customise your car and race around with great soundtrack blaring. On to 2004, where we have Warhammer 40,000 Dawn of War. The Dawn of War series, weirdly, is now getting its fourth entry, episode, expansion, whatever. Dawn of War 4 is coming out, like, later this year. So it's wild that the first game came out over 20 years ago now. But it's great. It's just a little tactical RTS game set in the world of Warhammer 40,000, which is a world I'm a fan of. God, it might actually be my favourite sci-fi world of them all. I didn't think about that immediately, but yeah, I really like Warhammer 40k. It's great. Getting to play as with Space Marines and just going through this campaign is awesome. Honestly, I can't remember the name of it. Dark Crusade? Yeah, the Dark Crusade expansion was where I spent most of my time, because that you could do, like, planet hopping, and it was much more fun for me doing that way. But the original Dawn of War is an amazing game. I love it. It's just solid, classic RTS in the Warhammer 40,000 world. On to 2005, where I realised I do actually have a racing game, kind of, with Burnout Revenge, which is my sort of racing game, because, while yeah, go fast, get optimal lines and stuff is all well and good, I like go fast, smash into other car, blow them up. That's more my sort of racing game, and that's what the Burnout franchise did for many years. Like, in the early 2000s, this was a big thing, where you still had the people who were serious racers and had to have their steering wheels and everything being precise and have to have the ABS system installed and know when to toggle it and stuff. And then there were people like me who were like, no, I want to smash my car into another car and watch it explode. That's how I want to race. And Burnout Revenge was perfect for that. Great soundtrack, really exhilarating, just dodging in and out of cars. It was also a game that encouraged you to drive badly in some ways, get like near misses and drive into oncoming traffic in order to build up your boost bar, which was a great risk-reward mechanic. Just brilliant, fun game. Very fun game. I like fun games. So me. 2006 is another U-turn of sorts, where I'm now talking about Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. This is nothing like the previous game. Much more chill, much more calm, because it's a fantasy world. It's the Elder Scrolls, which I'm sure many of you are fans of. And honestly, I'm kind of about Oblivion. I think this is the first year where I was just flat out like, I don't really like any of these games. Oh, I guess I played Oblivion. That was fun. I like the remaster as well, but decided to go with the original. Oblivion's good, alright? It is a good game. The problem is I'd already played Skyrim before I played Oblivion, and every time I was playing Oblivion I was like, I could just be playing Skyrim instead. And that just stuck with me for a while. But with the remaster coming out last year at this point, I really got kind of back into it, and there's just a lot of nice stuff in it, especially quest lines. Like the Fighters Guild is just very fun. It's got a good amount of wackiness, which I think is lacking from further or future Elder Scrolls games, and I very much appreciate that. So this still is very much my Game of the Year pick for 2006. I just haven't played it as much as basically anything else on this list. For 2007, we have BioShock, the original weird, mind-bendy first-person shooter game that it is. I love it. This is another one which I didn't play until much, much later, so I already knew the twist. But even with knowing the twist, it was great. It was just a really solid game. Weirdly, one of the things I most enjoyed about it was using the camera, taking pictures of all the enemies and stuff to get bonuses. I love that. It's another slight risk-reward mechanic there, because if you get like a combat shot, then you get better score, and you then get better bonuses when fighting those creatures. But it does mean you have to have your camera out rather than your weapon out in the middle of a firefight, which is not a smart thing to do. But honestly, a great game, fun little narrative, plays with the whole how much decision you actually have while playing a game sort of feel, and it's just very, very good. If you've never played any of the BioShock games, definitely give the first one a try. It is maybe the best of the trilogy. 2008 now, and here we have Fallout 3. And yeah, of course, I love Fallout 3. It's so good. It is, for me, the quintessential Wasteland-based Fallout game. And not as in the Wasteland games they were based off of, but the actual post-apocalyptic wasteland of Fallout 3 feels the most like, yeah, this place has been nuked. This is a destroyed land in the future where everything's gone wrong. It does make it quite bleak, and means that if I just want a happy, jolly, good time, it's not really the Fallout game I gravitate towards, but it's brilliant. It's so much fun. Bethesda managed to take the classic Fallout games, bring them into 3D world and make it first and third person, and just have this really fun wasteland to go through and explore, while still keeping a lot of the darker stuff in it, and making it somewhat depressing, which is good in the terms of Fallout, but yeah, I love Fallout 3, such a brilliant game. On to 2009, where we have, weirdly, another similar game of sorts with Borderlands. So this is the original Borderlands, and I know when I said Borderlands is similar to Fallout 3, some of you will be like, no, Borderlands is like wacky, goofy, oh, look at all the loot drops and people making butt noises and stuff, but the original Borderlands, while it still did have some wackiness stuff, it was very much a post-apocalyptic first-person shooter. Like, it's a much darker game in tone than any of the other Borderlands games. From Borderlands 2 onwards, things went a lot more wacky and goofy and bright and colourful. The first game was much more kind of like greys and brown in tone, and there was, while the story still did have its ridiculous elements to it, it was much more grounded, and it talks about how like the psychos and stuff have all gone that way because the planet of Pandora has like this really long day cycle where it's barely ever nighttime and everyone's just slowly driven insane being on this planet out in the Borderlands. And it's great. Like, honestly, the first Borderlands, if you ever are playing a future Borderlands game and are like, oh, I don't like all the butt jokes and stuff and it's all just a bit immature and whatever, play the original Borderlands and you can see what direction the franchise could have gone in with a slightly more serious tone, while still having a lot of the fun looter-shooter elements. For 2010, my game of the year is Fallout New Vegas. Everyone loves New Vegas. Honestly, despite the fact I consider it to be the most overhyped of the Fallout games and the most overrated of the Fallout games, it is still a brilliant Fallout game and one of the best in the franchise. Undeniably. It's just really good. You get to travel through the desert, go to this big city which is still mostly intact, deal with a bunch of cool and interesting factions, have lots of interactions with characters who are very well written, and sure, the actual gameplay mechanics don't really hold up too well a decade and a half later, but it's still a great game, a lot of fun. A lot of people are going back to it now with Fallout Season 2 being out as well, and them exploring that area much later in the timeline, and yeah, Fallout New Vegas is a really good game. I don't need to sell it to you. Much like my 2011 pick of Skyrim. Everyone has played Skyrim. I refuse to believe there's a single person listening to this who has not played Skyrim, unless my sister listens to this. I'm not actually sure if she's played Skyrim, which feels weird, but everyone loves Skyrim. It's a great game. It is an amazing fantasy world, quite gritty and realistic. I feel like from Oblivion they made things not like super serious in comparison, but they removed a little bit of jokiness here and there and made it feel a little more grounded and realistic, while still obviously being this fantasy world. And Skyrim's just amazing. There is a reason it's been re-released so many times and why people keep playing it to this day. Skyrim is just brilliant. It is genuinely one of the best games ever made in my opinion, and despite not having played it for basically a couple of years properly at this point, I still love it. And I am looking forward to playing it again in the somewhat but not too distant future. For 2012, I have, wow, so many choices. If you are a first-person shooter fan, then 2012 is great for you, because this was the year that Black Ops 2, Borderlands 2, and Far Cry 3 released. That is a trio of kind of amazing historical first-person shooters which did brilliant things for their franchises. Like, Borderlands 2, Far Cry 3 and Black Ops 2 were really the games that made each of those franchises what they are today. Like, Far Cry, Borderlands and Black Ops, or Call of Duty, sorry, would not be anywhere near as well-known kind of household gaming names if it wasn't for these entries. And I just want to quickly acknowledge all three of those as my honourable mentions before I give my 2012 Game of the Year to Kingdoms of Amalur. Oh, I love Kingdoms of Amalur so much. it came out right after Skyrim. It came out like 3 months after Skyrim, and it's still a crying shame that that happened, because it's this really bright, vivid fantasy world with amazing combinations of magic, finesse, kind of stealthy gameplay, and being a big warrior, you can do it all at the same time. It does multi-classing much better than Skyrim ever could, and it's much more cinematic as well, but it also wasn't as grounded, and I think people were more into the grounded than the bright, vibrant kind of classic stuff there. So unfortunately, Kingdom of Amalur: Reckoning kind of got pushed to the side a little bit. It's one of those games that just was released at the wrong time, which happens a lot, unfortunately, but it still is one of my favourite games of all time. I'm looking forward to playing more of it again, although specifically I'll be playing Re-Reckoning, the remaster. But honestly, the 2012 version still looks really good, because it has an amazing art style, and it holds up, even to this day, just absolutely brilliant. And I'm not done with the fantasy RPGs, because for 2013, my game of the year is Dragon's Dogma: Dark Arisen. This is a game that I need to play more of. I have restarted this game several times over, and not actually made it that far. Like, honestly, in terms of percentage of the game beaten, this is probably the one on the list which I've beat the least amount of, which feels wrong to me. But my honourable mention would have been Bioshock Infinite, and while I beat that, it's good, but I had the unfortunate thing where everyone went on about how amazing Bioshock Infinite is before I ever played it. So when I actually played it, I was like, yeah, this is good, but I was led to believe this would make my life perfect forever, and, you know, that sort of disappointment. But Dragon's Dogma: Dark Arisen is just a lot of fun. You get to fight big enemies, you can grab people and, like, throw them off of cliffs. It feels almost D&D-like, where it really wants you to be able to do whatever you want to do a lot of the time, and I love it for that. It gives you a lot of choices, it has an interesting story that I still haven't beaten and really, really need to beat. Come on, Sarge, what are you doing? But yeah, I just love the game. It is a lot of fun. I look forward to one day actually finishing it. For 2014, I'm first off going to mention my honourable mentions, because first off we have Titanfall, which I absolutely love. We'll be getting more to that in a bit, but yeah, a first-person shooter where you can wall run. I love wall running so much. And mechs. We've already established I love mechs. This was an amazing game. Weirdly, this is a game that I got for free because it was just given away like Christmas the same year or the following year or whatever, and that just made it even better that I just got a free game that was, oh wow, it's one of the greatest shooters I'll ever play. Additionally, Dragon Age Inquisition came out this year. And I'm not a huge Dragon Age fan, like I think Inquisition is the only one of the franchise that I've actually finished, but I had a lot of fun with it. It gives you a bit of an open world. I enjoy just ticking off side quests and stuff in that game. It feels nice to kind of complete everything, and while I'm not big into the romance options and stuff, the characters are still very interesting and cool to interact with, and give you a good amount of diversity to play around with. My game of the year for 2014, though, is Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. This is a Lord of the Rings game which introduced the Nemesis system, and honestly, it feels criminal that more games do not get to use the Nemesis system, because this means every time that an enemy killed you, they would get promoted and become more famous, and because you played as Talion, who's sort of this undead person at this point, you came back to life, and the enemies will be like, hey, I chopped your head off, what are you doing back? And it's just really cool, because also when you fight them, they adapt to you, and the Nemesis system is so amazingly good. Honestly, I prefer Shadow of War over Shadow of Mordor. I think it's just improved in many ways, but Shadow of Mordor was the game that introduced the Nemesis system to the public, and it's so good. It's amazing. Just anyone who's not played these games before, really just play it, and don't even worry about the story that much. Just find random orcs and purposefully die to them and just see what happens. It is so fun. For 2015, my game of the year is Fallout 4. This should be no surprise to anyone who watches this channel or Bad Company Gaming, because I'm still covering Fallout 4 over a decade later. It's probably my favourite Fallout game at this point. It's just a lot of fun. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's not an RPG because I don't like it and all of that sort of stuff, but I love the game. It has its flaws, but overall it is my favourite Fallout game. It's got solid shooting, and if you haven't noticed, there's a lot of first-person shooters in my list and my honourable mention, because I'm a big fan of that. So being able to actually shoot guns properly and have it feel decent, unlike 3 in New Vegas where it was a bit clunky and janky, that just made it so I could play through one of my favourite worlds and a fun RPG while still having the gameplay feel good. And survival mode is what really sets this one above all the others for me, because whenever I want things to be a bit more realistic, a bit more dangerous, I can throw on survival mode and have a real solid campaign in this, which is just incredible. I love Fallout 4 so much. The narrative and the story, I'm a fan of. I know a lot of people are like, no, it's dumb how you look for your son, but I still enjoy the story and stuff. But for me, that isn't what the Fallout franchise is. It's exploring this open world in a wasteland and the very sandbox appeal of Bethesda games, so I had to give it to Fallout 4. Apologies Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, you get to be my honourable mention, but I prefer more of a sandbox open world shooty game than a more narrative focused open world game. Still very good, but Fallout 4's where it goes for me. For 2016, we are on to another first-person shooter with Titanfall 2. This is just Titanfall, but better. An amazing way to do a sequel, like just so good, just added in a few more mechs, or I think only like one more mech, but just refined the controls, made everything a little bit better. You had like grappling hooks that you can swing around, and then from swinging you can go onto wall running or sliding, you can bunny hop. God, this game was so amazingly good. And that's just for multiplayer. It also had a phenomenal single-player campaign to go through, which let you just play around with all these different elements, learn it all, have this amazing friendship with your mech, BT, which was way too heartwarming for a game about stomping around in a giant robot suit and smashing stuff. Titanfall 2 is amazing. It's a real shame that it is primarily a multiplayer game, and most people will never get to experience what it was like in its heyday, where you could just get a match anytime and jump through and just blast everyone. God, I love the game so much, and I'm actually sad that it's not in the same state anymore because multiplayer. So I'm going to move on to 2017, where my game of the year is Total War Warhammer 2. Now this is a trilogy of games, Total War Warhammer, Warhammer 2, and Warhammer 3. And a really cool thing about them is if you own the previous games or the previous DLCs, then they kind of get all bundled into one. So at the moment I am playing Total War Warhammer 3. However, within that I still get to play Warhammer 2 and the original Warhammer. And that, I just really like that, how your games kind of bolt together, that's cool. But for me, I never really got into the Total War franchise. It was a bit too planny and slow, and I was like, nah, it seems cool, but I don't really want to do it. But Total War Warhammer is what finally pushed me in there, because I love Warhammer Fantasy. It is way more my thing than Warhammer 40k. I know 40k is more popular, but for me, the old school, old world fantasy, not Age of Sigmar, but old world fantasy, I love it. I love it so much. And these days you can play as all the different factions and so many different legendary lords, and Warhammer 2 was really the peak of the excitement for that, where everything kind of felt good. You could play as like Volkmar the Grim of the Empire and just lead an army of zealots to crush everyone. You could play as Vlad von Carstein and instead go against the Empire and be a vampiric horde. You could play as the Skaven, which are a big just favourite of mine, be Ikit Claw and just nuke people in a fantasy game. Total War Warhammer 2 is so good. It is so good, in fact, that my honourable mentions are Middle-earth Shadow of War, which I've already talked about how good it is, and Nier Automata, which is one of the best games arguably ever made. That is how good and how much I love the Total War Warhammer games, is that Nier Automata and Shadow of War didn't make it. 2017 was an amazing year. You know what other year was pretty great? 2018. Though, not as great. I'm actually looking at this, and my honourable mentions are Warhammer Vermintide 2, very fun little co-op game of just smashing rats in like a first-person version of Total War Warhammer almost, and a lot of fun. I did enjoy it. If you like Left 4 Dead or anything, but want to do it fantasy and against rats, then Vermintide 2 is perfect. Far Cry 5, which is honestly my favourite, I think, of all the Far Cry games, just going through America and fighting against this religious cult was so much fun. A great game for co-op as well. And Fallout 76 is my other honourable mention, which these days, if it came out in the state it is today, then I think it would be my game of the year. But 2018 Fallout 76 was kind of empty and rough and had a lot less going on. The game has improved so much and really right now deserves to be like a proper Fallout game that people can be a fan of, and it has so many interesting quest lines and characters and stuff while still being this fun online world you can play with your friends, but none of them made it. Instead, I'm giving my 2018 Game of the Year to Dark Souls Remastered. Feels weird to have a remastered one in here, but that is the Dark Souls I played, and as I understand, all of the Dark Souls games, or Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2, their different versions really do matter a lot. And this is the game that got me into From Software gaming. It's the only From Software game that's going to be on the list, or going to win Game of the Year for me, but I loved playing through this so much. So much that I've now gone on to beat Dark Souls 3, and Elden Ring, like all bosses. And that's something. For me to go from someone who was like, nah, I don't like these games, they seem kind of like too difficult, why would I just want to punish myself, to now loving them, that is all because I played Dark Souls Remastered and stuck with it and had a great time. Also, I beat Calamite multiple times and never died to them, so that's my flex. Oh, and Ornstein and Smaug, never died to them, just won every battle against them. Those are my Dark Souls OG flexes, but some of the hardest bosses I've never died to. Yeah, it's not much of a brag. 2019, I have 4 games on my list, and I still, okay, I know which one's going to be Game of the Year, but any 4 of these could have been it. So for my honourable mentions, we have Apex Legends, which is just the Titanfall games but in a Battle Royale. Honestly, I'm not the biggest Battle Royale fan, I would have preferred a Titanfall 3, but this is still a lot of fun, and I've had a blast in the past playing Apex Legends. They have changed a lot of it recently, I say recently in the past couple of years, and it's now a bit much for me, but still, great game. We then have My Time at Portia, which is a cozy game, and I'm not going to talk about it right now because I'll talk about the sequel later on. We then have Borderlands 3, which, despite getting a lot of hate from the internet, is still a really good game. Like, they really upped the first-person shooter mechanics of it all from the previous game in the franchise, and I think that gets overlooked because people are like, no, why isn't Handsome Jack here, and why isn't he the best villain ever of all time? Why are we dealing with these two twins? I hate them. But in terms of the combat, Borderlands 3 is amazing, and graphically, it looks incredible. Just so damn good. But weirdly, what's going to be my game of the year is Far Cry New Dawn, the post-apocalyptic sequel of Far Cry 5. I really wanted a Far Cry game to be a game of the year for me, and this one was a lot of fun. It's just an open world set in a post-apocalypse again, which, yeah, is kind of my thing. But it still has the Far Cry randomness where you can, like, get animals to attack or just set up traps for cars that are passing by. And it's also fun to see a nuked place that isn't destroyed. Like, it's very vibrant, there's these bright purple flowers all over the place, and it still feels very alive despite being post-apocalyptic. And I just like it. It's just fun. It's quite a nice comfort game for me. So yeah, Far Cry New Dawn, I really enjoy you. Plus, Sawblade Launcher, come on. My 2020 pick goes to Cyberpunk 2077. And man, it kind of stings to make this my game of the year. I don't have any honourable mentions for this year. This was a game where I was like, don't have much to go off here. But I do like Cyberpunk 2077. It took a lot of time to get really good. It was super buggy at launch. I don't actually enjoy the ending of the game, but Night City is so cool to travel around in, and I find it very immersive at times, and it does uniques very well, and I think at this point I really like the skill trees. It is a game that took multiple years to really get good. But now it's in a great place, and I'm looking forward to doing a challenge run of it over on the second channel sometime soon. I'm still not 100% certain what it will be. I'm thinking like a no-equipped weapon sort of deal, but I'm looking forward to going back into it, because the last time I really played it heavily was when it came out, and it's so much better now. It's like a really solid game, and I do love Cyberpunk as a setting and as a world, so getting to play that in a proper, like, video game is just, it's really cool. So there you go, Cyberpunk. I've complimented you despite our turbulent past. Now for 2021, I have a trio of honourable mentions again with Deathloop, Halo Infinite and Outriders, all of which were brilliant games. Basically, they're all first-person shooters which scratch a different itch, and I really enjoyed all 3 of them. But I'm not going with a first-person shooter this time, I instead am going with Inscription, which is a really, really creepy deck builder. But I still think about this game at times because of how creepy it was. The actual deck building side of things was kind of easy, I found. I am someone who's played a lot of card games and stuff, not at like super high levels, but at high enough levels that I'm better than most casual players, even when it's just, oh, here's a brand new card game, learn it, I will pick it up very quickly. So Inscription I found a bit easy, but the whole creepiness to it and the different genres it kind of ducked in and out of, it's a really good game, and I cannot describe it enough because it's kinda trippy. But if you want a deck builder that has really creepy elements to it and might give you nightmares, then Inscription's the game to go for. We're now on to 2022, which apparently was the greatest year in gaming for just all time. Because my honourable mentions for this year start with Citizen Sleeper, which is such an emotional little indie game that lets you roll dice to perform different actions on this spaceship, and just, you're trying to escape from this big nasty corporation because you're like a robot sort of thing, a sleeper, but you're instead having to survive in this kind of harsh futuristic world, and it's a really sad game, but also just really rewarding. I love the actual mechanics of it. I haven't played the second game yet, but I'm so looking forward to that. I really fell in love with this game, and it's very emotional. Also, we have Total War Warhammer 3, basically all the stuff I said in the Total War Warhammer 2 entry, that just applies here. It just makes the game bigger and better. Who doesn't love that? And also, Elden Ring. I mentioned that I got into the From Software games. Elden Ring is arguably the best FromSoft game of all time. It's just huge open world, gives you so much more freedom than the other games did, riding around on Torrent. I think the last time I played was as a mage, where I skipped over all bosses and just travelled to everywhere, basically. I think I didn't go to like the final 2 areas of the game, but I could still travel everywhere else just by going through sneaky back channels and going under the map and up a different section. Elden Ring's just amazing. It gives you an open world, it really encourages you to kind of try out some different weapons and playstyles and makes them all fairly rewarding. It's a brilliant game, absolute masterpiece, but only makes it to an honourable mention because Chained Echoes came out in 2022, and that is my game of the year. This is one of my favourite games of all time, like top 10 for certain, maybe top 5. This is very much inspired by old school JRPGs and stuff. It's another turn-based one, and I love this so much. All the characters are really interesting, and just, I want to learn more about them. I haven't played the DLC yet, I'm saving that as a treat for myself at some point, but god, this game is incredible. The combat system is innovative while still being old school, which I love. There's so many tactical things to do, and it's actually quite challenging without feeling impossible. Just, there is not a single element of this game I dislike. I cannot think of anything bad to say about it, which is wild, because for most of the game of the years I've gone through, I've been like, oh, well, this is kind of bad, but I still love it. Chained Echoes, I have no issues with whatsoever. It is basically a perfect game, which I do not throw around lightly. It might be the only game that I've ever played that I'd be willing to say is perfect. Play Chained Echoes, it is amazing. But I can't just sit and blub about how much I love that game. Instead, 2023, where we have My Time at Sandrock. I love myself a good cozy game. It's not something you will have picked up on from reading through this list and listening to me play, but I really love it. And this is one where you play as a builder who goes into this desert town, and you're helping them just get their town back up on its legs after it's kind of been run down a bit over the years. The desert's been slowly encroaching, and you're trying to get things, breathe life back into this town of Sandrock, and it's amazing. I had My Time at Portia as an honourable mention in 2019, but this game just takes everything My Time at Portia did and just does it better. You now have like water to keep your machines cool because you're in the desert. You can't chop down trees and stuff because, hey, this is the desert, we've got a limited supply of them. So instead you're breaking down scrap that gets uncovered, and it's amazing. It's also got a really fun narrative, and these are the only games I've ever played where I care about the romance options. In fact, I didn't finish My Time at Sandrock because I accidentally fell into the endgame romance with the wrong character. And I was like, no, I can't do this to the person I've actually fallen for in the game. So I stopped playing. That doesn't happen to me. I don't enjoy romance in games, but in this one I was like, no, I actually care about all of these characters too much. This is amazing. There's also My Time at Evergreen, something like that, coming out this year or maybe even last year. I love the My Time at games. They are my favourite cozy games of all time. Like Stardew Valley and stuff just doesn't compare for me. my time at Samrock is just the best in terms of cozy games. I love it. It's something I can play whenever I'm feeling down and just have a great time and feel better about everything. Alright, penultimate pick now. In at 2024 we have Solasta, Crown of the Magister. Turns out there weren't many games in 2024 that I was actually a big fan of. Like, Solasta Crown of the Magister is a really good game. It's basically, if you want to know what D&D is like but in a video game, this is a great way to experience it. Baldur's Gate 3? Nope, never heard of it. I've not played Baldur's Gate 3, alright. But Solasta Crown of the Magister is basically the budget version of Baldur's Gate 3. It's much shorter, it's a bit more linear in some regards, but it really does just let you play D&D on your own. It is this one little campaign you kind of go through. There are DLC campaigns and stuff, I believe, but I just have the base game, played through the campaign with a nice diverse party of like my elf ranger, my dwarf, cleric or warrior or whatever. Just, it's fun. Who doesn't like Dungeons and Dragons? Hell, D&D isn't even my favourite TTRPG, that's probably Blades in the Dark, but I still love it, and Solasta Crown of the Magister was just a lot of fun. It gave a really good look into D&D. I think anyone who hasn't played Dungeons & Dragons and doesn't know if it's for them, I think actually Solasta's probably a better entry point than Baldur's Gate 3, which kind of expects you to get more deep into the lore and stuff, whereas this one's a bit more surface level. So yeah, very good game, still enjoyed it. Game of the Year pick, because that's what I played. That released in 2024. And now we're on to 2025, where I'm going to talk about a couple of honourable mentions first. So we have Atomfall, the post-apocalyptic British game. A lot of people described it as British Fallout. It's actually quite different from that. It does a lot of stuff that I really love, like letting you kill anyone. Love that. I almost was able to finish my kill everyone challenge run over on the second channel, but unfortunately the game bugged out and broke right at the end after I killed everyone, which sucks. But it just lets you do that. It makes combat much more terrifying. Atomfall's just very good. If you passed it over, check it out now. It's an amazing game. Also, The Outer Worlds 2 is my other honourable mention. Honestly, this might have been my game of the year, but I haven't finished it. I still feel like I need to get through the game, feel out the ending and stuff of it before I can really justify putting it as my game of the year. It's close, it's almost there. But instead, I'm giving it to the other Obsidian RPG that released last year, Avowed. This is a great little fantasy game, which I love. If you haven't noticed, I love myself a fantasy RPG. I just can't help myself, it's my favourite genre. And this game is just so stylish. It reminds me a lot of Kingdoms of Amalur in that aspect, where you get these really flashy kind of spells and stuff. It has a dodge mechanic rather than a roll mechanic, which I can't... It's wild to me that rolling is the standard thing rather than dodging, because this game did dodging really well, where it's like, yeah, this feels weirdly realistic, despite clearly being a fantasy kind of setup to it all, and I love it. Avowed is brilliant, and unfortunately the internet, decided that this was the worst game ever made for many weird reasons, several of which were wrong, and don't get me wrong, there's plenty about this game which is a bit janky, going into the first city, the game lags, it has serious performance issues. I haven't actually played it in a little while. I'm holding off until the next big update where they're adding photo mode and stuff before I jump in again, but it definitely had its issues. It had plenty of things wrong with it, which is why Outer Worlds 2 is probably the better game of the two, but the fact that Obsidian also released two brilliant RPGs in 1 year, I hope Bethesda's watching and taking notes, because I'd really like Bethesda to maybe release a game every few years again, rather than once a decade and have it not turn out great. But yeah, I loved Avowed so much. I'm looking forward to jumping back into it. I just really enjoy the game. It's big, it's bright, it's flashy. It's a bit too linear for me in terms of a story, but overall, I really enjoyed it. Anyway, those were my games of the year from 2000 to 2025. Hope you all enjoyed just this fun little video. Let me know what your picks would have been. I will say it was weird for me having to go back over 2 decades to see what games released when. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that pick overall. Hopefully you've been introduced to several great games you never knew about, and also got to reminisce and kind of, what's the word? Oh, I've forgotten it. Oh no, nostalgize. You got to nostalgize about past games that you've really enjoyed, and maybe you'll go back to them too. Anyway, that's it for the video. I'm probably going to have a couple of builds out this month, but not much else because I've been under the weather and stuff, so I'm taking it easy. But hopefully you've all had a great start to the year. As always, thanks for watching. Sarge out.